Okay, hello everybody. We have 13 participants now. Perfect. And it's been a great pleasure to see you all in here in this cyberspace. And I miss you all. And I know that you miss me as well. I'm just joking. Of course, not about the first part. Okay, in fact, we all miss our, monthly general meetings, but apparently we have no choice but to hold virtual meetings. I hope that we will go through this difficult and a strange period of time as soon as possible and resume our normal life. Okay, let's go for the today's demonstration. This week's artist is Betty McCowan. Am I right? I hope I spelled your name right, and I apologize if I spelled it wrong. Tonight, Betty will be using prepared papers in muted tones to create an abstract media collage. You know, this style of art has a significant place in art history. And Betty McCowan. Betty discovered her love of painting in 2006 and since then has worked enthusiastically to make up for lost time. When she discovered non-objective art around 2009, she realized that this was her niche and has devoted herself to this art from ever since. She has been accepted into many juried art shows in Toronto and Eastern Ontario region and has received many kudos for her work. Recently, she won Best in Show at Oxford's Celebration of the Arts and was accepted into the prestigious juried art show Next to at the Arts and Letter Clubs in Toronto. You can see some of Betty's artworks in here. Those are beautiful. And hello, Betty. Yes, we are gonna have Betty for tonight. Let's start it. Okay.
Oh, okay, well, I spotlighted her for you, so. Away you go, Betty. Are you muted? Betty, let me check. I might have muted you. It's all right. Let me unmute you. Where is she?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, there,
okay.
I got you.
Hello, I want to thank you all for attending, and thanks to the Art Association for inviting me to demonstrate tonight. So I thought I would show you a little bit about my process as well as my actual painting. So here in front of you, you see a newsprint of my painting. This is what I'm going to paint, and this is sort of how I start my planning stage. So I draw a bunch of lines on and make a bunch of shapes and erase some and put them somewhere else and that until I come up with a nice satisfying shape that I think I'm going to like. Then I mark on it. Sometimes I mark the colors, but this time I haven't, so I have no idea what color I'm going to use yet, but I'll figure that out. I've marked on it where I'm going to put the paper. I think I'm going to put some here. I'm going to put a bit here, and also a bit here. The rest is going to be paint. Some of it's going to be white. So that's how I would start. I would transfer that in a slightly less frenetic form to my canvas. So here's my actual canvas. And I don't know whether you can see the lines still. Some of them are a little bit fainter, a little bit more erased. And in addition to that, I've added some texture. I've added cheesecloth here. Can you see that? And in addition, I've added molding paste in the corner where I wanted the white, just to give it some texture. So that would be how I would begin a painting. I might already change the design a little bit because this is a small painting in some respects for me, and I think it might be a little busy for such a small shape. So I'll have to see as I paint what I'm going to do. As Frances told you, she has sent you the list of the paints. And out of those 4 colors, plus made black, I've made 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 colors by adding Titan buff to some, such as this one, which is Titan buff and yellow ochre, and then Paynes gray to some. So this is red ochre plus Paynes gray. And this is, for example, Titan buff plus red. Did I say red ochre? I meant red oxide. So that was red oxide plus Paynes, and this is Titan buff plus Paynes. So you can make about 12 to 13 colors out of those 4 colors. And that's what I use. That's how I sort of try and keep my my colors unified. And in some paintings, I would use all 12, but I won't be using that here. I've just left myself open to having the choice. So I think I will start. And what I usually start with is I'm going to start with the dark, which is going to be, I think, this big shape here. So I think I'm going to use this made dark, which is 1 part red oxide and 3 parts Paynes. So, and if you look at it, you'll see it's not very well mixed, and I like that because it gives me variations in tone right away. And by putting it over top of the shape, you can see it already gives you some really nice texture and some real interest already. In addition, the cheesecloth absorbs more of the paint than the other. I should add that this paint has been watered down. I like using water. I use distilled water, but some people use medium, and that's okay too. Now I'm going in it with a little bit of water, not too much, and I'm doing the old watercolor technique of tilting to, again, give it some variety of texture within that gray black. So that's all I'll do on that color for the time being. Oh, no, wait a minute. I had some other areas of dark that I had in mind, so I might do them. This was going to be a dark, and I think I was going to have a little area of dark over there. So there we go. I try and use a brush for every color, every one, because they always get mixed up, but I try very hard not to mix them up now. So now I'm going to go in with one of my blended other colors, and I think I'm going to go in with the Paynes gray and red oxide. And that's where I was going to put some paper, and I may come back and put the paper over top of it, but we'll see. Once again, that paint has been thinned down by with water. So I'm going to try and blend it here at the edge a little bit. And my squirt gun isn't cooperating too well, but it's okay. We'll get it going. So you can see that even though I'm trying to blend this area, I'm getting some drip over there. You can't worry about stuff like that if you're doing this type of art. I'm sorry. Or my way of painting, you just can't worry about that. You just have to go with the flow and say, okay, well, I'll do something with that or else I'll stop. Now, if you wanted, you could always stop right now and you could take my trusty paper towel, which is always at my side, and just erase that to restore that line. It's up to you. Next, does anybody have any questions? I mean, we have left the chat
I have a question.
open. Yeah.
How did you come up with the plan ahead of time? Like, what did you have a previous painting you're working from, or what inspired all the shapes that you?
No, these are, I don't know. I just, as I showed you, I just tried to, I don't know whether you can see from this, all of the erasures and whatever I have made. There's a lot of erasers and putting in various shapes. And so, no, I didn't have a painting or a photograph or anything. It's all from this brain of mine.
So you just are doing a design, and when you're satisfied with the design, you start work. Is that right?
That's right. That's basically. And sometimes I don't even start with that much. Sometimes I might just, I'll start with, I'll say, okay, Betty, be brave. And I might just put one great big swash of something on the canvas and then go from there. I'm sorry to say. Doesn't make it sound too professional, but that's what happens. So now you can see that the lovely Paynes gray is granulating as it dries, and it's leaving all sorts of beautiful markings, but it's kind of pale. So at some point I'm going to have to go in there with some more. The big question is, will I leave this beautiful white section in here, or compositionally, is that not a good spot for that white spot? So I'll have to answer that question somewhere down the line on this painting. But at the moment, I like it. And even if I go in and darken the rest of it, I'm going to leave that because I really like what's happening in there. It's beautiful in my estimation. So, and this is now blending really nicely in here. So I'm happy with that too. Less happy with what's going on up here. We'll have to come back to that. Now I'm going to introduce a third color now, and I don't know what color that's going to be. Just a minute here. I'm going to try and just be timid with just a straight red oxide, sorry. And you can see how watered down it is. It's even more watery than the way it comes out of the golden fluid thing, the golden fluid jar, bottle. Yeah, so for something like this, I like to water down. At other times, I work with the fluid straight out of the bottle, but I don't know why. One of the reasons why I opted for watery was because I thought it would dry faster for the for a demo. So, but I just want a little bit of this because I'm being a bit timid. So, so I have to decide where that's going to go. And I think I'm just going to put it here. Whoops, that's a little bit too timid. And I'm going to run it down there, which, as you see, is not part of my plan, but
It is now.
Karen,
Yeah.
what was your question? Why don't you just ask it out loud?
Did you say me? I was just wondering what your preferred brand of paints are for this kind of art.
I will be honest, I use Golden because when I was working, I could afford it. Now that I'm not working, I've been trying and experimenting with just straight craft paint. And although I don't like all of it, it's surprisingly better than I thought it would be. So, yeah. The thing about craft paint is, in my estimation, it's unreliable for mixing and blending. It's really great for just putting on. The other thing I do a lot is I just use my dirty water to just suggest a hint of color. Now that water isn't quite dirty enough yet. So I actually have bottles of water which I label as watery, which it means that when I finish a bottle of paint, I just keep a bottle of this around. And then I can shake it up and I can pour it on here. And it's a little bit, it's way more watery than anything else. So we're going to get a new brush. What color was that? That was that color, I think. Okay. And actually, I'm not liking the way that's going. So that was an idea that I tried on the fly, and it's not working, so it's coming off with my trusty paper towel. But I'm going to save some of that messy edge along there. Okay. So since that didn't work, I'm going to switch to the transparent burnt sienna, which is a color you can't get here in Canada. You have to order it. It used to be available through Da Vinci. It is Da Vinci paint, is what I mean. But it's a lovely color. Look at how beautiful that is. It's sort of along the line of Quinn Gold, but I don't know, a little bit different. And I love it. So we're going to mix that with the red oxide. The thicker the red oxide, the better, like the more red that color is. It's beautiful.
Reza was asking about how you prepared the papers ahead of time.
Oh, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. I just wanted to finish this, and then I'm going to leave it to dry, and then we'll talk about the papers. Okay, so I have a little bit more to cover, so I'll do that more quickly. I'm going to try my blue, my Paynes mixed with Titan Buff. See if I got it light enough. Maybe not. This is, oh, that's pretty nice. I think I said I was going to put paper there, but anyway, we'll just see. Okay, So now I'm going to leave that to dry. What time is it anyway? How are we doing for time?
It's like only about 25 after 7, so
Okay,
you have,
perfect.
and I'll give you a 10-minute warning. So
Oh,
don't
no, I
worry about-
want to know because I want to spend some time talking about the paper. So
Okay.
I'm darkening up this black, and I'm extending this black here. And I want that blue to run into that black. So I'm just going to do this. Oh, this stupid spray gun. There it is. There it's on now. And we're going to let it run a little bit. And I want that to run into there. Okay. Alrighty. It's not working. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a brush. And then I'll switch to talk about the papers. Alrighty, I'll switch to talking about the papers. I'll give my trusty assistant the water bottle to fill and the canvas to dry. He's going to dry it under the blow dryer while I'm talking about the papers. So excuse me for just a minute while I put them over here. Here we go. Okay, so papers. Okay, so I make up a bunch of papers in advance, and I like to do that. The most recent thing that I've done during COVID-19, which I absolutely adore, is I use up my old sketchbooks that were hanging around that, I don't know, I gave up on sketching because I'm just not very good at it. And so now what I have done is made a series of papers in different tones. And so that was when I was working in greens and some yellows and some oranges and some blues in various tones and tints. And then I got creative with some stamping, which looks really cool, and various and sundry paper. And the reason why I like using this is because now they're all in one place. And they don't, you know, clutter up my house with loose paper, because I have a ton of paper. My whole life I have been a paper fan, and yet I never used it until just recently. So what I do now is I like to also paint on coffee filters. So the reason why I like to paint on coffee filters is they're very thin, but the paint goes right through them. So you get nice paint on both sides of the coffee filter, and sometimes one side is nicer than the other. So I don't know whether you can see that or not. I kind of like this side for tonight.
Yeah, we can see it. It looks neat.
And so here's a more blue one with the red iron oxide. And that's the other side, sort of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, which one I'll use. So I often wet my paper, and then I drip paint on it, I spray on it, I do all sorts of combinations. So there's just some of what I do. I don't know what other types of questions. If you have thicker paint, you can stamp or use stencils with your colors and create them. Now I ripped these out of my book, but this is a very pale one made just with those waters that I told you about. So that's just using dirty water, nothing else. It's very pale and soft, which is beautiful. This one, I seem to have been in a more frantic mood when I painted that, which can also be nice. If you want to have an explosion somewhere in your painting, this part here might be particularly good to give that sense. Or it could almost look like a floral for Ruth there. I don't know. So this is an example of spattering and adding water. So using the old tap, tap, tap and spatter, spatter, spatter. And once again, one that is more watery and soft. So those are some of the papers I'm going to use tonight. Obviously not all of them, just to give me a choice. The other thing, if you're interested, you can paint right on dress patterns, like from Vogue or Butterick's or McCall's. So, and they are lovely because I don't know whether you can see the translucent quality. You can see my hands right through it, my arm. So they look beautiful when applied on top of something, and I really liked this here, that shape. So I don't know. I don't think I can use it this time because it's a pretty brown background, so it won't go with what I painted. I use serviettes, cocktail serviettes as well for prepared papers, or sorry, for purchased papers. You take them and cut them in half, like take the backing off of them, and then they're very thin and transparent and they glue on really easily.
So
I have a question
everybody,
for you.
yeah, just ask questions if you want. And Reza has.
Yeah, Betty, have you ever used any, you know, kind of medium, I mean, like an adhesive material or something for preparing the papers?
For preparing my papers instead of paint?
Like for example, the adhesive material, like for example, wood glue or some kind of glues or something, when you are preparing the papers.
No, I haven't. I have used mediums like tar gel.
Mm-hmm.
What else have I used? Like the string medium, which you pour on and it makes strings. But no, most of the time I have used, you know, obviously pencils, watercolor paint, things like that, but never glue.
Okay,
That would be interesting to try though. Have you tried it?
Yeah, sometimes.
What happened to it?
Yeah, it's you know, it's just giving you different texture on the, you know, on the background, and then you can play with the texture when you are just coloring, you know. It's kind of, you know, creation. Thank you.
Sounds cool. I'd like to see some of those. So let me just show you. Sorry, one other thing I have used is lentils. I don't like split peas and lentils here. You just glue them on and then paint over top of them, and they look great, really, when they're all painted. It looks very cool. And so here I've used a purchased paper. That's one you get. You used to get them at Curry's. Now Curry's doesn't carry anything that fancy. And then, of course, my old standby cheesecloth and lentils. And then this is going to be, I don't know, something. Haven't decided what. So for those of you who don't, I don't know, what I wanted to say about this was that you can use these prepared papers in other things as well.
That's oxide.
So this is something that I made with almost exclusively prepared papers. The only thing that isn't is this here, which is a piece of the face, which is a piece of purchase, like, oh, that didn't show up. Can't see the texture. you can see the texture better from
Yeah,
back
we
here.
can see it. We can see a little texture. It's neat.
Okay. So all the rest of this has been painted. It was when I was doing my monochromatic one. So I just painted everything in different shades of green and blue-green, and then glued it on to make an image. So you can use these papers for a non-abstract way too. And this one, in this one, I've used old cut-up paintings that I didn't like. So all of this up here was a painting that didn't work. And this is wallpaper paint, or wallpaper, that textured wallpaper that you paint on. What's it called? Not chiclet. It's got a special name. Anyway, and the blue is purchased paper. It is actually, what is it called? You know, the gift wrap that you put in tissue paper.
Yeah, tissue paper. That's what
Yeah.
it looks like.
So the blue is the tissue paper, and the background is the wallpaper paper. But all the rest of these are either cut-up paintings or papers that I painted specifically for this painting. So just to play around with some more realistic work than I usually do.
Yeah,
So-
when I was in my home country, I used to use parchment.
Yes.
Parchment was a good, material for doing some kind of mixed media.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have used parchment paper before too, and you're right. It's
Yeah.
really good. So there's a couple of ways.
And also,
Yeah, I won't show you that. That's more of the same. Okay, so now comes the hard part. I have to figure out what papers I'm going to use and how I'm going to use them. Okay, so there's my painting, and you can see it ran a little bit, but we can't worry about that. There's always paint to fix it. Oh, I had another one. Oh well. I think that this one is going to look really nice in this corner. You can't see that corner, can you? Is that better? Now you can see most of it, right?
Yep. Oh,
So I'm going to get out my scissors. You can either paint this or tear this. Yeah. But I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm going to cut off that part. And I just saw another piece of paper I might like instead. That's a good one too. And I'm gonna try and cut out this this little bit here that looks kind of blossomy, which in watercolor, as you know, is a no-no. But in this type of art, anything goes. So I am tearing it to give it kind of a random quality, because a lot of my art is kind of about randomness. And if you tear in one direction, you will get white edges. If you tear in the other direction, you won't. So I've torn in the direction to give myself these lovely white edges here where the paper tore away. And now that's gonna look good. Let's try that. as I say, now comes the hard part. I think that'll be good there, but I'm not going to glue it yet because I have to work out the rest of the composition. Now, this is a small canvas, so I don't want it too busy, and I've got a lot of busyness through here. So I have to make sure that the rest of this is as calm as I can make it. Now, I said originally that that piece was going to be white up there, and actually I put some masking tape on, modeling paste on it, but I'm kind of liking that up in the corner. So maybe I'll leave that there. I don't want that sharp corner there. I don't want this sharp edge. Anytime you're talking about a non-objective artwork where you have nothing to look at, you really want to avoid a strong line if it's not where you want people to look. It looks very man-made, and then of course it takes your eye. See how much less distracting that line is now. This is even a little bit. So you have to, it's great if you have a few strong lines in places, but you have to be very careful about where you put them. I think it'll be okay if I leave this bit of white in that corner. I don't think I need to be concerned with covering that whole corner. So does it feel a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle that I'm doing right now? It kind of feels that way to me. Usually when I'm doing this, I might take several days to make the decision about the paper. This is really nice in here, this bit. And that improves that shape. This here improves this shape. It's a better shape than this. Would you agree? So I think I'm going to have to leave that there and work out the details of that later. I can always get rid of that edge. So that's a definite one. To glue things down, I always use gloss medium. And where's my brushes? I had them. See, I've thrown paper all over the place. You should see my floor here now. This is looking more and more like my studio every day, every minute. So I have glass medium and just a little styrofoam tray and a brush. Good, I found my gloss medium brush. There we go. I have a dedicated brushes for that. I'm going to put the medium on the canvas, and not too prettily, as you can see, and on the back of the piece of paper. Make sure you get the edges, because it's where the edges are that's the hardest to get down. So you want to make sure everything is covered, especially out to the edges. So put your glue beyond the edge when you're gluing.
Is it important to
And
use
then-
gloss medium, Betty?
Oh, no, you can use matte except where it is, where it hits, where it hits black. Because if you get too much medium on it and it runs over into the black, it will dull that black. And then you'll have to, if you're like me, when I was doing this and I had this really large black piece that I really wanted to stay black, then I had to go over and after it was all done, repaint the black so that the matte medium didn't dull it down. It was just really ugly looking. So there's our first piece that's found a home and glued. And I should have told you, you should probably work from the inside out in kind of like a radius, which I didn't do. I never worried too much, especially on, this is a dollar store canvas, so I don't know that it's the world's greatest canvas to begin with. And I don't think there's any help for it. Okay. I don't really like this burnt sienna. It's not working for me with these papers, so I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm going to use a different color here.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So this is kind of, you know, like when I'm painting on my own and not kind of giving a demo, I would be running out, making myself a cup of tea, bringing it back in and looking at it and evaluating it and doing it that way.
She's lying. She'd go for wine.
Yeah, wine if it were after a certain hour, for sure. Marissa probably knows all about that, though. She and I have had some good painting sessions. Now that relates to that, which is good. That's what I wanted, but now I can't put that there because it's too close. However, I can put it here and then it'll tie in with that. And we've sort of therefore gotten rid of some of this white, some of that strong line. So I like that there. I'll probably leave it there. Now, back to this blue, which I think will go really nicely with that, from Karen Coyle. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
she says she's drinking. She should be just saying it
out
out loud.
her wine? Oh, good for her.
I tried to tell everybody to let's have it a little less formal and
Yeah.
ask your own questions. And Eileen's having a beer. She's toasting you as we speak. And I just wanted to give you the 10-minute warning, although we're not, being strict about anything. So it's about 10 to 8 right now. And
Oh, golly.
we can
Time
give some
flies.
time for questions afterwards. And you can keep on doing your thing if you want to, or whatever you want to do.
Sure.
And it's coming along. I love it. This is neat.
So anyway, I like using paper. I wanted to say this because there's some things, although I pretty much try everything on the canvas, there's some times and some opportunities where it looks so beautiful that I'm afraid to, I know it needs to be changed, but I'm afraid to do that. And so when you have your paper, you can try it. You can do whatever on paper. You can say, oh, maybe it needs this color, or maybe it needs just something. Maybe that line is too harsh. Maybe maybe that shape is too conflicting with the other shape. It's too big. So you can see, I mean, I am rushing a little bit, but I would sometimes maybe pay more attention to the paint running, but I will be going back into this and, you know, changing it as I go, and whatever.
So I'm just curious,
I
kind of missed the gist of what you were saying there. Are you saying that when you're doing a painting and you're not sure what to do, that you would try putting paper on the painting to see, or where you would actually just
Yes.
do a paper painting of it?
No, I would put the paper on it. Like if I said to myself, I think this line is too harsh. I wonder what if I added straight black to it, you know, or something. Then I could take out a piece of paper, cut it out and try it and say, oh yeah, that really improves that. Or no, that color doesn't work on there. So I'm not going to paint it this color. I will try, you know, red oxide.
You're a true conservative. It's wonderful, like saving all that paint, and you're a woman after my own heart. I have to say that.
It's crazy. I've got Paynes water, I've got thinned blue black, I've got everything, and I have them all labeled. I'm just like nuts about stuff like that. But as a result of that, I have way too much stuff and not enough space. So I'm going to try one of these coffee filters. Now I don't know whether you can see that, but if you put a coffee filter on something that is like I put it on a baking mat, a Betty Crocker baking mat to dry, because the paint runs through. So you have to leave it on something. So there it's picked up the shape of the Betty Crocker baking mat too, which gives it a really nice additional texture. I mean, I like that. Some people would probably be driven crazy by it, but not me. I think that's super. So I think that this would look great here. Yeah, I think we're going to put that there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I better, I don't know. I'm sorry I didn't get back to finish the paint part of it because I putzed around and talked too much about the paper. But that's important too, right?
Absolutely.
So,
I definitely agree with you that we need, for mixed media, we need to have some gap between, you know, we can't continue just all of a sudden. We need to have some time between.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that well, Reza. I didn't hear that clearly.
Oh, sorry. I told for mixed media, I definitely agree with you that we need some time. You know, we can't continue the work just all of a sudden. We need to have some gap between, and then you know, between the creation. That's why I was telling.
Yes, very definitely.
Yeah, take the.
So I think that'll look good up there, just to integrate the gray a little bit more into the Paynes gray and red oxide.
Betty, Betty,
Yeah?
it's Ursula. What color were you adding? That pinky color. What is that? Pardon me.
That is Paynes gray, or sorry, no, that is red oxide mixed with Titan buff. But when I put it on top of that burnt sienna, that's when it turned that lovely color. Because now that I've added the second layer of oxide, red oxide, and the Titan, it's not quite so pinky anymore, is it?
Well, I like the pink.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks.
So I'm gonna
It's
take
not
it
often
off.
you get away with pink like that. It almost feels like, it almost goes like peach, and it looks good in this painting.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens now that I've tried to remove it and put it back on, restore that lovely color. Whether I can or not will be another matter.
Well, that looks better going into the red.
So a lot of this type of painting is really very much trial and error. And if I can leave you with anything, it's if you're going to do this type, you just have to be brave and say, I'm going to try it. What have I got to lose? It's just it's a bit of paint, a bit of paper. I can always put another color on top of it, another piece of paper on top of it. I don't know. Like, I don't worry about my outcome so much. I sort of trust in the process and what I've learned about the process. And hopefully, you know, I try to think about rules of composition, try to get something that's pleasing to me compositionally at the end of it. And then the rest of it I figure is fair game. How I arrive there, whether it's instantly or whether it, you know, takes me through a few false starts before I get there.
Betty,
You,
Betty,
Yeah.
if you turn that up the other way, like sideways, okay, I see a face there.
there's an eye.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
Hair,
yeah,
some sort
yeah.
of, yeah,
Oh,
I see it now too.
Sort of Marilyn Monroe, but in disguise type thing, you know.
Yeah, I thought it was a guy actually when I look at it. To me, it looks more like a guy.
I see your face though, anyway.
So compositionally, I would, you know, I would go back and look at this white, as I say, and whether that's in the right place or not would depend on the orientation of this painting, right? This way, it does come right to the very center, and it's almost dead center this way, right? So it is kind of very central, which is maybe not the best spot for a big white spot. If we do it here, it doesn't look like it's in the center anymore, right? So, but now that line all of a sudden got really strong.
Yeah.
So this way, it's kind of really interesting. This line going down and up, and this part looks kind of like it's all falling. So this is not bad. You don't notice that? Well, maybe you can't see it. It's still pretty strong.
Absolutely.
I really like it in the way you just had it. That's just my opinion. I thought that looked fantastic that way.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, I like that. That's just me. I think it looks great always, but
I have to
Like,
say, there's something about that. Yeah.
I see a guy's face there with a long nose and two eyes there.
Nice beard too.
I almost see a landscape, and the black in the middle is almost like a tree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That we are getting to the joy of abstract, non-objective painting, because everybody relates to it for completely different reasons. But the important thing is relating to it. And I'm really excited that you are seeing things in it and that you are making connections to the shape and the color and the overall composition of it.
So it is exactly 8 o'clock now. So we're going to wrap it up in less than 10 minutes or so. But yeah, any more questions that anybody has?
I have one, John Foster.
Hi, John.
Hi. You were mentioning using craft paints. Have you ever tried student grade paints?
No, to be honest, I haven't. I bought Amsterdam. I don't know if Amsterdam is student grade or not. Anybody know? Amsterdam paint is good paint.
Yeah, I think that Marissa might have mentioned it, and she's absolutely the queen of economy when it comes to paints.
And
she's figured out just which ones are the bang for your buck and which ones you can buy less expensively. So it might be worth going back to that recording again.
I know with certain student grade paints, you can add certain things to them to upgrade them somewhat. And
well, that's a good thing, John.
Yeah.
And certainly if you find that and you're pleased with the results in the color or the saturation or whatever it is you're looking for, then by all means use them. I don't think, honestly, that any of us are going to be, you know, the future Vincent van Goghs. But if we are, the conservators in the future in the museums will find out a way to preserve our paintings.
Exactly, it'll be their problem. One more question on the glue you were using. What kind of white glue was that?
It was just Curry's medium and varnish. So it's both a medium and a varnish that you can use to varnish your painting after you're finished. And I choose gloss because if I were to accidentally get matte on this black area, it would go duller than the rest of it.
Yeah. That lamp you've got in your picture there is on sale right now for $85 at Lee Valley.
This one?
Yep.
Yeah, this one doesn't work.
I made that.
It's just to hold my camera so that I can look down on the screen because I paint flat. I never paint upright. So I thought, how am I going to do this?
The one on sale has a magnifying glass in it with a lamp, so that's just why I was mentioning it.
Lovely.
Great
Lovely.
for painting.
Yeah, no, I don't use it. I just usually paint during the day. By evening, I'm done painting. How about the rest of you? When do you like painting? Irene?
Eddie,
Eileen?
what are you actually painting it on? Is that a canvas or is it a board?
It is a canvas. It's a dollar store canvas because that's all I have left. Like I had a bunch of them hanging around.
Right. Okay.
Actually, it might be one of those great value Michael buy where you get 5 for $16.99 or something.
Okay. All right.
One of those.
Yeah, I don't think the dollar store has them that size. They tend to be.
No, this might be 20 by 24 or something.
Yeah, it's probably the value pack. And I like to paint in the day too. By evening, I don't paint anymore.
Yeah.
Too much wine by then, right?
I was born at night, so I like to paint at night.
Oh.
Especially between 1 and 4 a.m.
Oh, John's a night owl. Betty, it's Karen. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I want to say hi to Mike because I know he's been your helpful assistant. So hi, Mike.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for his help.
When you put the cheesecloth on before, because I've seen people use that technique before and I've never done it myself, what do you just use water and let it harden, or do you use your medium, or what do you use to let the cheesecloth on there?
I use my medium.
Yes. Okay. And then you just kind of mush it around however you want to do it and then just let it dry?
I apply medium. I tear the cheesecloth because I like getting these holes.
Mm-hmm.
And all the tears, and I like the threads. then I sort of try to arrange it. You get your hands all gunky. And then if there's a big mushy bunch, like, because sometimes it'll bunch up, sometimes I'll trim that and cut it off and then make more loose things while it's on there. And then you put another layer of medium on the top. So medium first on the canvas, lay it out how you like it, and then medium on the top. And when you put the medium on the top, you will lose some of your beautiful arrangement. But so then you kind of go back, and when it's really gunked up with lots of medium, then you're spreading it out again. And then you just have to say, okay, well, that's it.
Well, I think that looks great. I love that part in the middle, like all the little kind of like streaks and things. That's my favorite part of this particular painting. So I'm gonna have to try cheesecloth. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Barry. You've done a very great job. Thank you so much. And yeah, by the way, you know, Van Gogh wasn't so popular when was living in his age, and we are gonna be Van Gogh as well.
Yeah.
There's just a richness to this, Betty. It's beautiful, like just the different textures and the way, you know, some of the areas really glow and some of them draw. So, you know, it's really three-dimensional and evocative. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's pretty much done. I'll just go back in and neaten up some of the painted color where I've lost some of it. I'll solve this hard edge here.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it. Decide on this. Yeah, still haven't decided. But I think I'll keep it.
And
I say
also,
keep it. I vote keep it. That's me.
And also, if you complete it, you can send a picture to Francis for, you know, to put along with the video. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Send us the completed, a photo of the completed work, and we'll definitely be, you know, presenting it to our membership somehow, whether it's Facebook or on the web. These things might take a little time. And, oh, sorry about that dog.
That's okay. Okay, well, sure, I will do that. I can't work on it tomorrow, but I'll work on it this weekend maybe.
Yeah, that's great. So once again, thank you very much. Is there any final questions?
Well, thank you everybody for attending. Stay well. You're in my heart.
Thanks, Betty. That was beautiful.
Thanks, Betty. It was a great job.
Okay.
Thanks, Betty and Francis. Great work.
Yes.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you, Francis, and thank you, Riza, and thank you everyone for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Riza. That was good. That was good.
Okay, I'm signing off.
Okay,
goodbye, everybody. I'm going to end the
Bye.
meeting now. So thank you so much. It was great to have you
Adios,
all.
amigos.
Bye-bye.
And
Francis,
take care.
next time.
Buenos dias.
Bye-bye.
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 Oh,
Okay.
I said I'd end it.